Researching your veteran's job offers a great window into their personal lives and experiences. It can tell us a lot about where they grew up, their interests, and their skills both as a civilian and as a member of the armed forces. Knowing your veteran's occupational history will help you broaden their biography and humanize them beyond their military service. Ancestry is a great place to begin. We'll start with a veteran from a previous project, Archie Burtis Ashcraft, Jr. Ashcraft was born in Enterprise, Harrison County, West Virginia in 1917 and served during World War II. As you can see, a lot of results popped up. This is good. We have multiple options to look through as we try to locate our veteran's job. Draft cards are an excellent place to start. Since 1940, the U.S. government has required military-age men to register for the draft. Similar to baseball cards, these documents provide stats on each individual which the government used to determine their eligibility. This included their occupation. After opening the source, we can see towards the bottom that Ashcraft listed Chester S. Bobbitt of 408 Adams Street, Fairmont, as his employer. Let's do a quick search of Bobbitt, who we know worked in Fairmont, to see what type of job Ashcraft held. As we scroll down the results, we can see a draft card for Chester Stephen Bobbitt, who lived in Fairmont. He was the self-employed proprietor of Bobbitt News, located at the same address Ashcraft noted. A quick follow-up on Google will provide some basic info. That Bobbitt News produced postcards of Fairmont and Marion County. That they were a popular business, and their building later burned down in 1972, over 3 decades after Ashcraft worked there. It was probably a successful and beloved local institution if it lasted so long. In just a few short steps, we've obtained substantial info about where Ashcraft worked, even if we don't know exactly what he did. Perhaps he was a budding photographer, photo lab assistant, typesetter, or maybe just a runner bringing supplies to and from the agency. We'd need more research on that, but one thing is certain. The job is significant, as it distinguishes him from the majority of the community which worked coal or railroad jobs. Perhaps this will be important information later. Let's shift focus to what Ashcraft did in uniform. Fold 3 is a great site focusing on military records. Let's try Ashcraft's name. The first one offers some quick information, such as his enlistment date and service branch, but nothing about his job. Let's go back to the results. As we scroll down past the standard index records, we can see a missing aircrew report involving an Archie B. Ashcraft. The report says Ashcraft was a second lieutenant in the Army's 8th Air Force. We now know Ashcraft was an Army Air Force officer, which implies he may have been a pilot, possibly linked to the 384th Bombardment Group. We just have to do a little more work to confirm it. Since we have a lead that Ashcraft may have served in the 384th, we'll start there. With a quick search, we have a hit. After we type in our veteran's name and select his profile, we encounter data confirming his rank, unit assignments, and job as a bomber pilot. Much of this information matches what we already found on Ancestry in Fold 3, so we can reasonably assume it's credible. As we search the page, we see Ashcraft's crew, their individual jobs, and the missions they flew. While this result required some digging, we now know Ashcraft's wartime job was piloting a B-17 bomber with 9 other men aboard, and that he flew 30 combat missions over Europe. From here, we would do research into more general sources on B-17 bombers and crews to determine how Archie became a pilot and what his duties and experience would have been. Writing history is always a synthesis of specific and general sources that inform each other and fill in gaps. Keep in mind that many veterans progress in rank and through multiple professions during their service. You don't need to become an expert on every one of these roles, but it's important to do your best to seek information on each. The final stretch of research is examining what your veteran did later in their career, perhaps after service during wartime. For this example, we'll look at a different veteran, Eugenius Melker Hovatter. Eugenius Hovatter served in the Marine Corps, leading troops in the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir during the Korean War. By 1953, Hovatter had returned to the United States. We know from his enlistment records that he remained in the service until 1968, but haven't figured out what job he performed. What we do know from his grave marker is that he ended his service as a colonel, but at the end of the Korean War, he was just a lieutenant, so he had a lot of ranks to pass through in the next 15 years. Newspapers are a great resource which can provide information unavailable on either Ancestry or Fold 3. Newspapers.com or newspaperarchive.com are great resources for this material, and you have access to both. Let's search for Hovatter between 1953 and 1960 and add Marine Corps in quotes to narrow our search. Since we don't know where in the U.S. he returned to, we'll leave the location open. If we check the second article written in 1959, we learn that Major Hovatter was serving as a newly appointed officer in charge of Marine Corps recruiting for parts of Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey. Before this position, the article notes that he previously commanded a Marine barracks in Adak, Alaska. This gives us further clues about his jobs and where he lived once he returned from Korea. We can follow up with searches on a military base in Adak to find that such a base was built in World War II. This is a great lead. Now let's check back on Hovatter's job as a recruiting officer. In this 1960 article, there's a large image with an accompanying description that Hovatter was by then a lieutenant colonel and the assistant director for personnel procurement for the 4th Marine Corps Reserve and Recruitment District, headquartered in Philadelphia. This not only tells us that Hovatter has been promoted from major to lieutenant colonel in the last year, but it also gives us a more specific job title. We can use this to better explore what his duties were in this position. Since newspapers.com has gotten us this far, let's see what else it can provide. If we do another quick search using Hovatter's job title and set the dates to when he obtained the position until he retired in 1968, we might get a sense of his duties. We don't need a location for this particular search, as the job's duties would be uniform throughout the Marine Corps. If we scroll down and select this article, we learn that Marine recruiters like Hovatter were tasked to help the Marine Corps reach its goal of enlisting an additional 15,000 men. They contacted prospective young men and their parents to tell them about the Marines, and some officers appeared on radio broadcasts discussing the Marine Corps' various programs. In this case, Hovatter even participated in a Q&A during such a broadcast. This gives us a sense that his occupational duties centered on meeting recruitment quotas, public relations, and direct community outreach. This is a great place to start as you continue searching for additional articles and sources to verify what you found. Figuring out the specifics of your veteran's job is important for your biographies, as it offers details on what their occupational duties actually entailed. Searching for this material will, like the rest of your project, require some creativity and patience. You may find your answer in a variety of ways from different sources. Google is a great place to start. When you enter your keywords, put the branch, occupation, and the time period or war your veteran served in. More than likely, you'll get a lot of results, so exercise caution as you choose what to use. Government and military sites, found as .gov or .mil, offer information directly from the source and often provide actual documents such as pamphlets or Military Occupational Specialty Manuals, MOS. If you find any of these documents connected to your veteran's branch and service dates, they can be a goldmine of information. Otherwise, try university publications or public organizations, as these sites typically offer peer-reviewed information or can link you to other sources. You can quickly locate these sources by a URL marked by .org or .edu. If all else fails, check blogs and commercial sites.com, as these can sometimes provide helpful information. Just try your best to fact-check them and follow up on leads to ensure we publish accurate information on your veteran. Patience and persistence is key to this process as you locate information and track down leads. In the end, this work will make writing the biography much easier and provide you with the gratification of rediscovering the personal experiences of those who came before us.